Hey everyone, this is Lonnie Matthews coming out with our next video on the channel. And in this particular video, I want to talk to you a little bit about um, finding money in your budget to save. Or finding money in your budget in general. Just money that's kind of slipped through the cracks, just hidden in your budget that you may or may not realize that's there. But oddly enough, speaking of savings, just reading an article, had a recent study that said about 62% of Americans would have a problem or have less than $1,000 saved. And so as you may or may not know, the cornerstone to any solid financial plan is to have money saved, simply because emergencies come up. I always like to say that the difference between an emergency and an inconvenience is having a savings account. You see, if I take my car in and it needs $500 worth of repairs that I didn't see coming, if I don't have any money saved, now I have a car crisis and I have a financial crisis that I need to deal with. But if I had a couple $1,000s in a savings account in that same scenario, then it's just a minor inconvenience. So having a savings account, I mean, the difference between a minor inconvenience and an emergency or a crisis is having money saved. So it is important that you save money. And oftentimes people get so caught up in life and your budget has gotten extended as far as it could go. And you say to yourself, well, man, I wish I had enough money to save, or I don't make enough money to save. The truth is we always make enough money. We just have to make savings a priority. So if you find yourself in that situation where you're saying, I just don't know if I don't see how I can save. Well, I want to come to you today with 4 things that you can do to uncover money in your budget to save. 4 things. All right. So the number one thing that I want you to do when it comes to saving money in your budget is you have to question every expense. That means you're going to have to take a good look at all the money that's going out every month, and then make some adjustments, obviously, but then those expenses that you're paying every month, you have to question them oftentimes, right? Like, for instance, I recently had a chance to look at my cable bill and just thought I'd give them a call and say, hey, listen, we're beyond our contract, and I just wanted to see if you guys had any specials before I decide to go to another carrier. And amazingly enough, they were able to rework my internet. I was able to get a faster internet and pay $50 less a month on that bill. So that's about a $600 a month, $600 a year savings. So first thing you want to do is question every expense. If you've been dealing with these individuals for a long time, a lot of times they come up with new plans, new policies, even with our homeowners insurance. Whenever it's time to renew, I always ask, is there anything out there? And this last time they came up with a homeowners policy that was about $1,000 a year cheaper. So again, that's about $83 a month that's freed up as far as savings. So step number 1, or the first thing you want to do, is question everything, all of your expenses. All right, number two is when you're doing buying a large item, make sure you do some comparison shopping. Shop around, check a lot of different websites. That way, you're going to make sure you're getting the best deal. I've found that oftentimes when we're doing large items, for whatever reason, we tend to get brand specific, meaning we want a specific brand because I've always bought that brand, or we go to a specific store because we always go to that store for these type of items. And I want to encourage you to get out of that, spend some time to do some comparison shopping, check around, check Amazon, because I remember I was looking at a filing cabinet here for my office, and I looked at it at Office Depot and was going to purchase it, and for some reason I decided to check on Amazon, and it was about $80 cheaper. So definitely want to make sure you shop around. I had just gotten so used to going to Office Depot for things that I didn't even think about Amazon. So step number 2, or number 2 thing, is to do some comparison shopping. Always do comparison shopping. Number 3. Now, this one's a little tricky. This one's going to involve an internal look at you and your personal habits, but you want to be aware of and look out for the it ain't buts. The it ain't buts. You know what I mean by it ain't buts, right? That's when you justify spending small amounts of money by saying to yourself, it ain't but. You know what I mean? It ain't but. It's that 3 o'clock, 3 o'clock snack that you normally get when you go to the vending machine. Just, you're trying to take a break from the day. You go to the vending machine and get a snack. You spend $3, $4, $5 there. That ice cream that you buy, it's cost $6 here. Those are the it ain't buts. And they tend to add up, and they could take up a lot of money out of your budget if you're not aware of them and not very conscious of it. I remember when I used to be an avid coffee drinker, and I would love to go to Starbucks, right? Just had this habit of going to Starbucks in the mornings on the way out. And there were times where I didn't even want coffee. I just kind of found myself in line and just realizing that I was spending about $5 a day on coffee, just stopping by Starbucks. They should call it $5. But, and then I started running the math, and I realized that, $5 a day times 5 days a week minimum was about $25 a week. But then when you annualize that, right, and I realized that I was spending about $1,300 a year in coffee because there are 52 weeks in a year, and that adds up. It really does. So you look at your habits. So step number 3, or point number 3, is to be on the lookout for the it ain't buts, because those things could really, really jump and eat up your budget and keep you from being able to save money. And then the last thing, these last items here, is actually 2 of them. So it could have been 5 things, but we're going to go ahead and keep it at 4. These, you're going to need to get the advice of a competent advisor. This is something that I've done in the past, but I certainly want you to make sure that this is a situation where it's going to work in your favor. So get some advice from a competent advisor, either a tax advisor, tax person, or a financial advisor as well. Okay, so this last couple things here is, look at your W-4. Look at your W-4, and what I mean by that is, if you're getting a large tax return every year, let's say you're getting a $6,000 tax return every year, that means that the government is taking about $500 too much out of your check each month, and then turn around and giving it back to you as a tax refund. And so just a real quick understanding of how taxes work, and this is why you want to get an advisor, because if you say you're married and got 2 children, and you do married and 4, which is the correct amount, right? Then the IRS, according to their chart, will take a certain percentage of your income based on you saying that you're married and 4. Now, what happens is the IRS doesn't know that at the end of the year, that you're going to be able to qualify for a child tax credit because your kids are, underage, and you had to pay for them to stay, pay for an after school program or pay for a camp program. All that's in fact into your child tax credit. The IRS doesn't know you have a home and that you're going to be writing off a lot of the interest as a deduction at the end of the year. The IRS doesn't know that you made a donation to your church or local charity that you can use to itemize and write off as well. So that's why you end up getting a tax refund, is because they're going to take the money out based on what you say on your W-4, not knowing all the other things that you're going to use as a write-off. So if you know in advance that certain things you're going to write off, then you could, in theory, increase the number of on your W-4, which means they're going to withhold less, right? That means they have more money in your budget to save and to get out of debt. So looking at your W-4 and your own tax situations. So that's why I say you want to seek the advice of a competent advisor before you do that. But there could be an opportunity for you to recover some of that money monthly rather than getting a large tax return at the end of the year, which is your money anyway. They just took too much out because they weren't aware of your deductions. And the last bit of information on finding money in your budget would go to look at the retirement that you're currently in at work. Now, realizing that saving for retirement is a very important thing long term, and everyone should be saving for retirement. However, if you find yourself in a situation where things are tight, then it may be time to look at how much you're actually saving for retirement to see if some of that funding that you're putting away for the future can be redirected to benefit you now in the present. And what I mean by that, or let me say this: if your company does a match dollar for dollar, or 50 cents for every dollar for match up to 6%, then you should definitely be doing the match. But if you find yourself doing more than a match and things are tight, then you may be a opportunity to adjust how much you're saving for long term. Take some of that funding that's freed up now, build up your savings account, and even reduce a couple of debts, and then get back into the savings for long-term future. So again, this is something that you definitely want to seek the advice of a financial advisor or a competent advisor on whether or not that's something you could do. But that is an opportunity to squeeze a few dollars out of your budget. I know for instance, my wife and I, when we were getting out of debt, one of the things we did was reduce our retirement down, really, really low to about 3%. And it took us about two and a half, almost 3 years to kind of get a lot of our debt taken care of. And then we were able to get back into retirement. And now we're even doing 15% of our income. So it is an opportunity, but you have to be committed for something like that. And you definitely want to seek the advice of a competent advisor. So there you have it. Those are the 4 ways to find money in your budget. Number 1, question every expense. Question every single expense. Number 2, do some comparison shopping, particularly when you're buying big ticket items. Number 3, watch out for the it ain't buts, because that will eat up some of your money, and you justify small spending by saying, well, it ain't but. And then number 4, the last thing is to check your W-4 and retirement accounts, retirement savings, to see if there's some ways to squeeze some money out. Okay, guys, thanks so much for coming to watch out this video. I look forward to doing more.